What is up, everybody? JT Dangerously here once again. I am back to do my NBA Playoffs 2017 Conference Semifinal predictions. Now, of course, the first round is come and gone, and we're on to the Conference Semifinals. 8 teams left vying for the NBA Championship. Of course, my record in the first round, finishing up the first round, was a perfect 8-0 record. So a perfect first round for me. Definitely a bounce back from the Stanley Cup first round with a 4-4. I went 8-0 in here, and hopefully I can win these 4 games for sure in this conference semis. Now, of course, before I start, I do want to thank everybody who has been watching my videos. Of course, my payback predictions, which payback is today, of course. And of course, my New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff, and of course, my second round predictions of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which is almost at 400, should be at 400 views. So again, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching those videos, and hopefully you'll be watching this video as well. Now, I also do want to thank everybody who did watch my NBA playoffs first round predictions. Had 110 views. Again, thank you guys so very much for that. You guys smashed that like button 8 times, of course, and you had over 30 plus comments. Of course, commenters representing their teams in these playoffs. Of course, I saw some Spurs fans, I saw some Cavs fans, I saw some Rockets fans, I saw some Celtics fans. I even saw a Portland Trailblazers fan, and that's what I love about when you guys do this, representing your teams. And of course, in this video, represent your teams in the comments. And of course, if they're still in the playoffs, represent them. If they're not in the playoffs, still represent them. Represent your team. That's what I love. That's what I love about doing these videos. You guys representing your teams, and I'm seeing them, and I'm also, again, just represent your teams in the comments below. If they're in the playoffs, represent them. If they're not, still represent them. Now, important dates to remember on this channel, like a few new things we're gonna have. May 8th, I will have my Ring of Honor with New Japan Pro Wrestling presents War of the Worlds 2017 predictions. Now, that's a joint pay-per-view for both Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, so that will be a one video. Of course, you'll have the usual New Japan, if they're New Japan entrances like I usually do in my New Japan stuff and Ring of Honor stuff. So that will be up on May 8th. Now, the second date to remember is May 15th or 16th. Now, of course, my NXT Takeover Chicago predictions will be out one of those days, and of course, my SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view Backlash will be out on those days. And then the third date, well, it's going to be somewhere in May because the conference second round matchups of the Stanley Cup playoffs is already going on. Of course, Washington's down 0-2, Edmonton's up on the Ducks. I know one of my new subscribers is a Duck fan. They're down 0-2. The Rangers are down 0-2, and the St. Louis Blues and Nashville Predators are even at 1-1. So, as soon as those 4 games end, I will have my conference championship predictions in the month of May. So, remember those dates: May 8th, War of the Worlds, and May 15th or 16th, Takeover Chicago and Backlash. Now, of course, we're at 131 subscribers. I cannot say thank you enough. You guys are awesome. Of course, to the new subscribers, thank you guys for supporting the channel. Of course, welcome to the Dangerous Lions. I'm, of course, JT Dangerously, and that boy right there is Vegeta, my sidekick there. But again, thank you guys so much for subscribing and supporting the channel. Now, other than I think that's everything I got to say before I pick. So let's get right into these picks. I'm going to start off in the Western Conference, of course, with the number 1 seed, of course. Everybody's team to hate, public enemy numero uno, and of course I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors against, of course, the team that won Game 7, of course, is the Utah Jazz, the number 5 seed Utah Jazz. Now, of course, this is the 4th meeting between the two in the playoffs. Of course, the Jazz last beat the Warriors lead the playoff series 2-1. With, of course, the last time the Jazz beat the Warriors was the 2007 Western Conference Semis in 5 games. Now, of course, the last time the Warriors beat the Jazz was the same year I was born, which was 1989, in the Western Conference first round in a sweep. So this is a great matchup. Of course, the Warriors finish up the Blazers. I know one of my subscribers, one of my commenters, was a Trailblazers fan and was hoping for a Blazers in 6. But again, Blazers are a very different team, and the Blazers will be back. That's for sure. But I mean, when you got players like Curry, Thompson, Green, Durant, and I know Charles Barkley ain't gonna like this, JaVale McGee. I mean, the most unlikely hero for the Warriors for sure is JaVale McGee, and I know Chuckster's not gonna like that, but he has been the most surprising guy to help out with the Warriors this season. And then you have the Utah Jazz, of course, beating the Clippers in 7 games on the road. I mean, huge win for them, of course. And this is a team on the rise finally with the Jazz. I mean, when you got players like Derek Favors, Gordon Hayward, the Great White Hope, Joe Johnson, Rudy Gobert, George Hill, very, 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 very talented team in Utah. And take note, even if they don't win this series, they will be back in the Western Conference playoffs next season, and hopefully they will win a playoff series. But coming from me in this matchup, I just think the Warriors have a lot more weapons. I mean, and of course Steve Kerr, hopefully he will be back on the bench coaching them, of course. Hopefully he'll be back there coaching the Warriors in this series. So coming from me in this matchup, I am going to take the Golden State Warriors to win, make it to the Western Conference Finals. I think there's just a lot more weapons on the Warriors team than the Jazz team. But again, I'll say it again. Take note, the Jazz will be back here next season, and hopefully they can win a playoff series, but just not. They won a playoff series against the Clippers, of course. That's a big win. But in this series, I'm taking the Warriors to beat the Jazz. Now the next matchup, of course, is the Battle of Texas. It's, of course, the number 3 seed Houston Rockets against the number 2 seed San Antonio Spurs. Now, of course, this is the fourth playoff meeting between the two. Of course, San Antonio won the regular season series 3-1 with less than 10 points, if I heard that right. And, of course, Houston leads the playoff series 3-0 with Houston's last win against the Spurs in the 1995 Western Conference Finals. And I know you Rockets fans remember that year. That was the same year they repeated as NBA champions. They won it in 94, then they won it in 95. Because MJ wasn't playing. He was playing baseball. So 94-95 was those two good years when any team had a chance. So, of course, Houston finished out the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, the Thunder, Russell Westbrook cannot win it by himself. Like, he needs help, for sure. You can have all these great players like Steven Adams and Ernest Cantor and Victor Oladipo, but you need more help. And, of course, you can have all the triple-doubles all you want. I mean, he'll definitely maybe win the MVP. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it. He deserves it after that regular season. But I would say that he definitely needs help when it comes to the playoff series. And hopefully they'll be back next season with maybe some help for Westbrook. And, of course, when they have Billy Donovan, I watched Billy Donovan at Florida when he was winning national championship. He knows what he's going to do. He knows what they got to do to win. So, of course, the Rockets got it done with, of course, James Harden, all that. Patrick Beverly, Ryan Anderson, Eric Gordon, Trevor Ariza. The one thing I have a problem with the Rockets is that they live and die by the 3. Like, if they're wide open, 3. They get a few twos, threes. They live and die by the 3-pointer. That could be a advantage or a disadvantage coming when it comes to the playoffs. Hey, if you have do you want to win the game or you want to tie the game? They usually do want to go for the win. They want to go for the 3 to win it. And then you have the San Antonio Spurs, who beat a very game Memphis Grizzlies team in 6. Of course, they looked pretty damn good. I mean, it was very game. You gotta give Memphis a lot of credit. They gave him a fight. Of course, when you got players like LaMarcus Aldridge, Paul Gasol, Patty Mills, if you leave him open, he will make you pay. The two veterans, of course, Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, and of course they're San Antonio's best player, of course, is Kawhi Leonard, of course, the second best player in the NBA and the best player in dual positions. So, and of course, when you got Big Papa Smurf himself, Greg Popovich, the old grizzled veteran, the 5-time NBA champs, Spurs are a very legit threat this year. The only thing I have a problem with the Spurs is that like players like Aldridge is not like in that Memphis series he was very lackluster. Like you pay him all this money, but yet he didn't do a lot of stuff in that series. Of course, the veterans who were doing most of this stuff, Kawhi, Danny Green, Tony Parker had a great game 6. Manu had a great game, even at both of their ages. Is amazing they're doing this. So coming from me in this matchup, and this one's a very tough matchup coming from me. This one's a tough one to pick because I do like the Rockets and I do like the Spurs, and I do think one of these teams can give Golden State a run for their money. So coming from me, I'm gonna take the Rockets to win this matchup. I think the Rockets can get it done. I mean, I know the regular season series the San Antonio beat them three times in the regular season, but I think in the playoffs things change, of course. So coming from me, I'm taking the Houston Rockets to beat the San Antonio Spurs. So my Western Conference Finals will be the number 1 seed Golden State Warriors against the number 3 seed Houston Rockets. Now the Eastern Conference matchup. Now, of course, I'm going to start off with the number 1 seed Boston Celtics versus the number 4 seed Washington Wizards. Now, of course, Game 1 is today, so this doesn't affect whoever wins this game does not affect my pick. So I'm just saying, of course, the Boston Celtics finished up the Chicago Bulls in 6 games. Of course, they handled them. Of course, even losing the first 2 games, that was pretty surprising. And of course, both teams split the regular season series 2-2, and this is again another fourth round playoff meeting between the two. Of course, the Wizards and Boston leads the playoff series 2-1 with Boston's last win. Boston's last win was 1984 when the Wizards were the Bullets. And, of course, they beat them in the Eastern Conference first round in 4 games. Of course, if you Boston Celtics fans remember those 84-80 Celtics, you know how good they were, for sure. Of course, Boston beating Chicago. Chicago definitely needs more help. They got Wade. They didn't have Rondo in that. They had Rondo in that series a few, maybe 2 or 3 games, but he got hurt, and it really hurt him. But, of course, when you have Jamie Crowder for Boston, Al Horford, Avery Bradley, Gerald Green, Kelly Olynyk, Marcus Smart, and the face of the Boston Celtics, Isaiah Thomas, and, of course, Brad Stevens. Again, I watched him at Butler. Fantastic coach. Very young, very good Boston Celtics team. Then you have the Washington Wizards, of course, beating the Atlanta Hawks in 6 games. I mean, they looked pretty damn good. I mean, they look like another threat against Cleveland for sure. I mean, when you got Otto Porter Jr., John Wall, Brandon Beal, Gortat, Morris, you got a very good Washington Wizards team, because Washington definitely needs something right now because their Capitals are down 0-2 against the Pens. They definitely need something in this series. So coming from me in this series, I am going to take the Boston Celtics to win. I think this Boston team is a really good team. Of course, they had Isaiah Thomas had his sister dying, so that affected them a lot, and that affected them in that Chicago series, but they bounced back, and I think they're going to continue to get better in this playoff series. So coming from me, I'm taking the Boston Celtics to beat the Washington Wizards. Now the final matchup, of course, it's the number 3 seed Toronto Raptors against the number 2 seed and reigning champions, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, of course, this is only the second meeting they've met in the playoffs, and of course, Cleveland won the regular season series 3-1, and Cleveland won the last series against the Raptors, of course, last year in the Eastern Conference Finals again in 6 games on to the NBA championship. So this is a fresh playoff matchup. I mean, they've only played once, so of course, Cleveland finished up the Pacers. And of course, Pacer fans, without Larry Bird as team president, Paul George, PD13, better start thinking of your options, because you can't. Do you want to stay where you are and continue to get swept or knocked out of the first round and barely make it, or do you want to go to a contending team that will actually help you win a playoff series and actually maybe win an NBA championship? But, of course, Cleveland got it done in a sweep, so they're rested. That can either help them or hurt them. Hopefully they'll help them. Of course, when they have LeBron James, Kyrie Lowry, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they look like they could be going back to the NBA Finals. Then you have the Toronto Raptors. Of course, Toronto Raptors beating a very game Milwaukee Bucks team. And I will say this, the Milwaukee Bucks will be back in the playoffs next season, and I guarantee you they will win a playoff series because with the talent they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, Chris Middleton, Greg Monroe, and hopefully they'll get Jabari Parker back. And when Jason Kidd there, when they say fear the deer, fear the deer. That's what I'm like straight up. I think Milwaukee will definitely win a playoff series next season, and they will make it to the playoffs next season. But of course, Toronto got it done. Of course, the Raptors eat Bucks. You know, their logo's a raptor, of course, or a raptor claws on a basketball. Of course, they got it done with Kyrie, DeRozan, Ibaka, Patterson. Now again, I did say Toronto was a threat. Of course, when you got Drake and that hotline bling, and it only means one thing. That place is going to be rocking. Of course, in Toronto, they definitely need something because Toronto. Coming from me in this matchup, if it was like I did say, Toronto was a threat, but if Milwaukee was here, if Milwaukee was playing Cleveland, this would have been a very more interesting series. This series seems like it's completely overmatched. Cleveland, like Toronto, it's like that. So coming from me in this matchup, I am going to take the Cleveland Cavaliers to beat the Toronto Raptors. So my Eastern Conference Finals is the number 1 seed Boston Celtics against the number 2 seed Cleveland Cavaliers. And those are my conference semifinal predictions. Now, I hope you guys did enjoy my predictions. Comment below, who do you have winning these games? Of course, represent your teams. If they're still in the playoffs, if they're not, still representing your team. Comments are always available. Contents are always welcome on this channel. Of course, I will see them, like the comment, and of course, reply right back to you. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And before you go, you can never forget to that like button, comment, share it with your friends, super kick that like button like only you guys can, the MVPs of my channel. And of course, you can never forget to that subscribe button, become part of this bigger and dangerous alliance. And I will see you May 8th for War of the Worlds. Later days and peace.